Coming up right here on TAS, we're going to be talking about AEW signing a top WWE superstar plus so much more, and it's coming up right now. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ango. Let's kick things off. Let's talk a little bit about AEW All In. Some very impressive numbers coming out. Obviously, we know that they did over 81,000 paid ticket sales. Very tremendous number, very tremendous success story. Regardless of how you feel about AEW creative, regardless of where you stand, whether it's WWE or AEW, none of that matters, right? Right now, we got to talk about something crazy. AEW made history, but now we got to talk about those pay-per-view buys because people love talking about pay-per-view buys. Now, this is coming from Dave Meltzer. We're looking at some early insight. Obviously, we don't know the final number. But at this stage, right now, currently speaking, it appears that the show did roughly 168,000 to 184,000 pay-per-view buys. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Based on other AEW pay-per-views, I actually expected this to be better than other AEW pay-per-views. But to give you a general understanding of where this ranks for AEW, this would put AEW All In at the second most highest paid pay-per-view for the company. And I think a lot of that is because AEW All Out in 2021 was massive. It did over 200,000 buys. Now, I was there at All Out in 2021, and I think if you guys follow the channel, you might notice that my opinions on AEW, they differ from time to time, because I remember when AEW was just like really, really strong at storytelling, and sometimes I just don't feel like they're all the way there yet. But nonetheless, I can still acknowledge the fact that 166, 184, it doesn't matter. Those are very impressive numbers. Looking at the social climate, looking at the economic climate, looking at the idea that AEW is doing a second pay-per-view this upcoming weekend. When you take all of these factors, I think AEW doing 168 to 184,000 is relatively impressive. Look, the reality is I think All Out being a week after All In is a very, very, very tough sell. I do. I think from a business standpoint, it's a very large ask. I think from the creative standpoint, I don't feel creatively fulfilled by watching the product to get excited for All Out. I mean, it goes back to what we were saying before, like whoever it was, I can't remember if it was Cornette. I don't remember which person out there said it. Maybe it was Bischoff, but they view, somebody said that they view Tony Khan more as a matchmaker than a booker. And I can definitely understand that because All Out will deliver fun matches. But I think from a creative standpoint, it's just not, it's not fulfilling, right? For me, at least on a personal level, it's not. But I gotta say, it's pretty damn awesome to see another company have this type of success. It's a really good thing for the industry. And I'm not the only one who's saying it, but Seth Rollins is saying it. And on top of that, Seth Rollins is actually saying it on a WWE podcast. Very, very interesting stuff here. So on WWE's After the Bell, Seth Rollins was talking about the wrestling industry. He says that we are in the boom. You have to understand there is another company that just put 80,000 people in a stadium for one night. A week before that, we sold 90,000 tickets to WrestleMania, broke the all-time gate on the first day. There are 7-8 different television programs of pro wrestling on a week, not even counting premium live events or pay-per-views. The talent roster across the board is beyond what any generation has ever put forward. It's very easy to look back at the past with rose-colored glasses and say, but this, but that. And I'm not taking away anything from the guys who paved the way. I stand on the shoulder of these guys. I don't do what I do without the legends of our industry and that have defined their generations. But they should be proud, and I know they are, because they are people who got us to where we are now. The business is bigger than it's ever been. It makes more money than ever. It's healthier. And the future of the business is so bright. And there's so much more that he says. You guys should definitely listen to the full podcast. But here's the thing. Tell me when he's telling lies, okay? The reality is this. The reality is that pro wrestling is extremely, extremely healthy right now. You got Impact investing in their future. You got Impact investing in their production. You got NWA all of a sudden wanting to invest in their production. You got AEW already highly produced. You got WWE, which is this mega, like, I don't even know how to explain it at this point. WWE it's a self-working machine, right? But the great thing is, and as somebody who watches a lot of Impact and somebody who truly loves Impact Wrestling, what we are seeing amongst WWE and AEW is super good from a business standpoint. What we're seeing from Impact is they are doing really good business-wise, but even improving so much more based on their product. Now, I don't want to speak for NWA because me personally, I'm not a fan of NWA, right? But I can acknowledge that there is a lot of good stuff happening, and it's all for different reasons. And that, my friends, is why it is so good to be a wrestling fan in 2023. WWE is reportedly considering adding new members to the LWO. I absolutely love this. I absolutely love these two names that are being discussed because it appears that it could be Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. God, that's so hard sometimes. Anyways, Dave Meltzer was reporting that this idea has been talked about backstage within WWE. Obviously, we've noticed that these guys went to NXT, got a massive character change underway. These vignettes are absolutely sick. Guys, I love video packages. I love when there's huge presentation changes for wrestlers. I think WWE and Impact do it so damn well. And the good news is WWE actually might have a plan here because according to Meltzer, the big idea is for them to team in NXT. Not likely to be a long-time thing. The idea is for them to go to the main roster with a new name. And then the idea would be for them to join LWO. I think the LWO should be a massive faction. I love massive factions. I know this is random because I'm talking about Impact again, but I was watching TNA in 2011, and say what you want about the creative back in the day, but the idea of Immortal was so outlandish and so crazy and so chaotic, by having so many different personalities and different types of wrestlers in a group is awesome. And I look at LWO as something that's all unison, right? And I think that's even more awesome. So wrestling is better with factions, especially if it gets more people on TV. I absolutely love this. I love those guys. I think they're so incredibly talented. I feel like they haven't really been given a chance on the main roster. I think 2019, 2020, WWE tried to, but it was difficult, man. It was a different time period, and then obviously pandemic era and stuff like that. But look, I'm all for this. I love the LWO. I think they're fantastic, and this could be exactly what they need to actually succeed on the main roster. And that brings us to our final story of the day, guys. We are talking about Edge. Remember, Edge made a video talking about how all the rumors from PW Torch were fake. Basically just talking about, like, he basically shat on them. I mean, honestly, that's really what it was. PW Torch came out with the report. They essentially said, yeah, AEW is going to sign Edge, and Edge is leaving WWE, yada, 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 yada. I mean, I made a video on it. You guys could watch it. There was a whole bunch of details on there. But then what was really interesting was Edge came out with the video, and he was basically saying, like, look, like, I have an offer, like, in my inbox. Like, there's no issues between me and WWE. He was very clear on setting the record straight between his relationship with WWE, and WWE didn't reject anything from him and this and that. But now we got some very interesting news surrounding this, because it looks like Dave Meltzer and the Wrestling Observer newsletter, they believe that Edge is still going to be headed to AEW. This was on the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter. Quite honestly, I love Edge. I think he's a legend. If he's going to AEW and he's going to get the bag, if he's going to get the money, good, go after it. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I want these guys to make money. From a creative standpoint, I'm not too interested in watching Edge finish out his career in AEW. If I'm being completely honest, if I was Picasso doing a picture perfect moment, I would love to see Christian Edge retire in WWE, and I would love to see it happen against an emerging tag team. If I was writing the most perfect script, that's what I would do. But I could never be mad at Edge leaving WWE to go to AEW and actually, like, get paid, right? Plus, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with CM Punk. We don't know what's going to happen there. Maybe AEW's like, screw it. You know, we'll bring in Edge, we'll bring in Mercedes, we'll bring in this person, that person. All these people make up for CM Punk. Not a big deal. Let's move on. And maybe WWE wants to bring in CM Punk. You never know. But it is expected that Edge will go to AEW. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you think down below.